Welcome to today's episode of Looking Back, where we'll take you through interesting historical facts from around the world. In today's episode, we'll look back at the Great Emu War. After World War I, soldiers came home and settled in Western Australia, but unfortunately a drought drove roughly 20,000 emus into their farmlands. The emus were eating the crops and leaving large holes in the fences where rabbits would get in and cause more issues. The soldier settlers quickly became angry with the birds destroying the farms that they worked so hard trying to build. Not long after, they tried to reduce the population themselves, but after failed attempts, they ended up going straight to the Minister of Defense. After a short discussion, the minister agreed and said help would be on the way. Soon after, the Royal Australian Artillery soldiers were sent in armed with what was called the Lewis guns. It was a light machine gun that was designed in the US and used during World War I. The initial conflict lasted 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day, starting from November 2nd and ending on December 10, 1932. Not long after, the reporting media coined the name the Emu War. On November 2nd, the soldiers traveled to an area where about 50 emus had been seen. Unfortunately, the birds were out of range for the guns, but the locals attempted to help and guide the emus into an ambush. Unfortunately, the birds split up into small groups and ran, making them impossible to target. While the first attempts of the machine guns were ineffective due to the range, a second round of gunfire was able to kill a number of birds. By day 4, the army started to notice that each pack seemed to have its own leader, a larger than most, black-feathered bird which stood about 6 feet tall and kept watch to warn them of approaching troops so that all the birds could continue their destruction. The soldiers devised a different tactic and mounted the machine guns on trucks, but ultimately it failed because the vehicles couldn't keep up with the surprisingly fast emus on the rough terrain, and the gunners were unable to get steady shots, making them ineffective against the agile birds. They ended up using thousands of rounds, but ended with a very low kill rate, which led to public ridicule. 6 days after the first encounter, on November 8, 2,500 rounds of ammunition had been fired. The number of birds that have been killed isn't clear, but one account estimated that it had been about 50 birds, but other accounts said to have been between 200 and 500, given by the settlers. Now, the official report said that the soldiers themselves didn't suffer any casualties, but it was a fairly big blow to their dignity. Some conservationists posted the war was an extermination of the rare emu. Despite the problems, the farmers continued to request military assistance for over a decade, only to be turned down. In the end, a bounty system was brought back from 1923, and over 57,000 bounties were claimed. This video is for educational purposes only, but as always, if you liked what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more interesting historical facts.